when you're looking at that polarization of how people live, you really get to witness, and I'm not a political kind of person, but I do have to put real life examples out there so you can see things being modeled. But a really good example of that polarization would be our current Congress and Senate. Polarization is so tremendous to the point that it's caused complete inertia, all right? But I want to explain to you why it's the way that it is and what benefit it has to us for being the way that it is, okay? If a person is coming from a place of ego, it means that they have low self-esteem. If they're coming across as arrogant and their ideas are the only ones that matter, and they're forcing those ideas on other people without cooperation and conversation, it means that they have very low self-esteem. They will oftentimes enter into positions of power to help compensate for the massive hole in their self-love. And when they're given power, one of the ways that they put a Band-Aid on their lack of self-love is by getting other people to agree with them. If you agree with my ideas, I am a worthy person. If you don't agree with my ideas, that means that there's something wrong with me. So with every action I can find below the line, I am going to either force or compel or intimidate or hate you until you agree with my platform. Because when you agree with the way I look at things, then I am worthy. And I feel better because my family or my community or whatever really screwed me up when I was a kid. That's the bottom line. So when you watch politics and the way that it's unfolding right now, it's all coming from a lot of people who have really low self-esteem. They don't love themselves enough to have somebody else disagree with their platform on anything, on guns or abortions or war or economics or education. If you're not on board with what I say is best for everybody, then that means I'm not lovable and I'm not worthy. Therefore, I have to respond by hating you or not working with you or not cooperating with you or not being friends with you. And that's why it's as bad as it is, so we can understand, as we're becoming more soulful, we can see what happens when you don't live as though you know you are eternal. We get to witness in politics right now, that's what happens when you don't live as though you are eternal. Their mindset, and it's not all politicians, I'm just making a bigger, broader statement, but their mindset is not, how can I leave this earth and this planet and my space and my family better than I found it? Their platform is not, after I die, does what I'm doing now matter in 100 years, in 1,000 years? They're not living as though I care about what happens after the next election. So living like you are eternal means living like you are eternal. And the way to live it is to respect. Respect each other, respect the planet, respect yourself, respect other people's ideas. You can disagree, you can come into a conversation of disagreement with kindness, but put yourself out there first to treat all people as though they matter, even if they have differing opinions than you. And now, if we were to think, like let's say 100 years from now, I hope it's sooner, imagine every politician lived as though they were eternal. Mm-hmm. What kind of fuel would we be using? What kind of food would we be eating? What kind of waste would we have? What kind of individual support and collective support would we have for people to make the best lives for themselves possible? What would the world be like if politicians all lived as though we are eternal? If you think back to some of the great leaders and strides that they made, those are leaders that lived as though they were eternal. Maybe they didn't put it into language like this. Maybe they didn't come right out and say, I'm living like a soul and not like a human. Opt out if you don't want to be here. But that's how they did live. That is how they did live. And not only individual readers, but sometimes in a rare case there'll be a collection of readers that live as though they're eternal. And they leave some body of work that's so much higher than the level of awareness that humanity might be in that moment, that it becomes a possibility for the future. And an example of that would be our founding fathers. The way they were able to take their consciousness beyond anything that they had ever seen in their lives or ever heard about from their own relatives, and create something, a new possibility. What they created was something so much closer to the vibration of love than any other political system that we've ever seen. Political system, I'm not saying society. Political system. So they exist. It just so happened that we had a lot of them together in the same place. And maybe they argued, and maybe they disagreed, but together they came together as a unit with a very, very high level of awareness, high vibration document that we still regard in principle as having an example of a great place to be and a great place to live. That's how we would live if our politicians today still lived as though they were eternal.